Hello, and welcome to another episode of Houston Moms in the Making, our podcast designed for women in the Houston area who are expecting, who might want to be expecting. It is presented by our partners and friends at the Motherhood Center. So we had to bring in the experts. So Sonia is she's an assistant to the founder of the Motherhood Center. Sonia, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you so much for inviting me in.
Yeah, so you have quite the background
I do.
for not only just what you do to support Gabriella and all of the staff over at the Motherhood Center, but tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about yourself.
So I think I've always had a love for children, a love for postpartum, and specifically, and that is my experience as from a child. But I've been a childhood educator. I've been, a household manager for, very uh, busy people. And then, of course, I kind of found my way back into postpartum as a postpartum doula, and as well, working with the Motherhood Center.
Perfect. And so today, what we wanted to talk about
Mhm,
was support that exists
mhm.
for new moms or expecting moms. Like, what what is out there now? It's been a minute since I had some babies.
Yeah.
I have twin 16-year-olds. So a lot
Oh,
has
wow.
changed. Yeah.
A lot has changed. I can imagine we have a big difference. You have 16-year-olds. I have an 18-month-old. So
Yes.
it feels like I'm just getting out of that, that first year of a stage, a newborn, postpartum. And trust me, there is so much more out there. There's quite a bit of good community out there. Sometimes it's just trying to figure out where to find it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the Motherhood Center is, at least start here. We can either help you out through a couple of services that we offer. We have our massage, our prenatals, our motherhood meetups, as well as postpartum support once, baby has arrived home. But besides that, there is postpartum therapists because it is an emotional journey, not only in identity, physical journey, just well-being. And then, for example, in my case, I did not even know that pediatric chiropractors existed until Gabriella mentioned it to me. And that is exactly what I needed right after my little one was born. That is a whole story in itself.
Yeah.
But even that, because it can definitely flow into, hey, is breastfeeding going to go well? Is latching an issue, whatever it may be? Um, there is so much more support out there, if not just for mom, but for little ones, because birth is a journey for them as well.
Yeah. So what would you tell
Mhm.
a mom who is pregnant and currently and how should they plan for these things that they might not even know are resources that are available to them? I mean,
Mhm.
when way back when, if I date myself, I read some books and then I went
Yeah.
on a hospital tour. And that was kind of like the extent. And I do remember I wasn't able to breastfeed for a couple of reasons, but I did try. And I went
Mhm.
in for like a quick consult and she's like, "Yeah, it's not gonna work." And like that was it. And so I was like, "Okay, well, I guess we're just not doing that." So what would you tell to somebody who's expecting right now or thinking about getting pregnant, as to how they can find resources?
So definitely, connect. We know Motherhood Center serves all the Houston area. We worked with families all the way up from Conroe all the way down to Galveston. So we cover a good service area, but I would always tell all our new families, if we don't know something, we're going to point you to a trusted resource because the fact is, get connected, speak up. I think that's where a lot of our first time moms and our moms that are starting to get ready have that, okay, what do I do after, the shock of figuring out that you're pregnant,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, what do I do next? And so I always encourage, Motherhood Center. If we know something, we'll guide you along the way. If you have other questions, speak up.
Yeah.
Um, that's the one thing I always love to tell our moms. In everything that we try to do with the Motherhood Center is not only, taking care of you, but providing education. And with education comes empowerment.
Yeah. And I think I mean, if I think back, especially first time moms,
Mhm,
it can feel very lonely
mhm.
after, you give birth. And I think having a plan in place of like if you even like if you might need, support later, maybe cultivating a list of like, okay, well, I might need this kind of help, right?
Yes. No, definitely, because your life is going to be a little bit different. You're going to take some time if you need, hey, who's going to do the meal prepping now?
Yeah.
Especially us as I would say, I refer as to the lady of the house. You're in charge of so many things, but once a baby comes, you have to start thinking, what am I going to delegate? And so those are the pinpoints where you need to start thinking, what resources might I need?
Yeah.
So, there is going to be nutrition, there's going to be hands-on support. What will I need to learn? Maybe do I want to breastfeed? Do I want to pump? Kind of starting to think in those questions. And
Yeah.
from there, build that list of the services that you need to inquire about.
For sure. So this was a
Mhm.
new term to me.
Yeah.
Postpartum doula.
Yeah.
What is a postpartum doula? Because when I think of doula, I think of somebody who's along with you, like in the birthing process, right? Like in my, Gen X head. So what's a postpartum doula?
So postpartum doula can, come in as you need them in a way. So it's going to be once you and baby are home or even still at that first day in the hospital, which we've done. But they're coming in. What they want to do is make sure that the family unit is taken care of. So at the core right now, of course, is going to be baby or newborn. So we're going to want to make sure that your newborn is comfortable, soothed, bathed, diaper changes. Of course, if you're starting from the beginning, straight from the hospital back home, what they don't tell you is you're not going to sleep at the hospital. Once you're going in, you won't sleep again until you're back home. So you come home and you're exhausted. The one thing you want is to have that other third party be somebody that takes care of you guys because dad or your partner or spouse, whoever else is in the picture, also needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we at. So do we need to make sure that you guys get some sleep, eat? Can we clean off your counters? Can we tidy up? Are we going to prepare bottles? Are we going to prepare your pump parts? Are we providing support and encouragement for breastfeeding if that's what you're choosing to do? And then, of course, there are the scary moments. Sometimes it needs a little bit of hand holding, is giving baby their first bath at home. Because at the hospital, we love when the nurses do it because they do
Yeah.
it so seamlessly.
Yeah.
And so that's also something that we can help with, the diaper changes. And love, like how I tell our moms, is just like, trust me, everybody has pictures of, is this normal spit up? Is this normal color of bowel movements?
Yes.
And so that's kind of
Why is it so
those
green?
worries is what we
Yeah.
help with.
Where were you 16 years ago? But like, so my biggest fear,
Mhm,
has always been my hang up.
mhm.
And so it was funny that you mentioned like, hey, we can like help with the things that like seem really scary. Like, I didn't have a problem with back time, whatever. To this day, have never cut one nail of my
Oh,
child. And like my husband did it and he
yeah.
totally stepped up to the plate, but it scared me to death. To
Mhm.
use those little tiny nail clippers, the
Yeah,
little tiny little sensitive
they
hands.
have e-files now.
They have what now?
They have e-files. Kind of like, you know how you see at when you go to the nail salon, you have a
Yeah.
file. They have a baby file for that now.
Okay. See, this is exactly why we're doing this podcast because I am in no way informed as to, like, we were still using,
The
you know,
clippers.
like, well, nail clippers and like our monitors. We still had just like a non-camera option. Like
So it's like
we
the
just,
walkie-talkies.
yeah. And like that's what we use. And I mean, it's just come a long way. So going back to lactation support,
Oh yeah.
what would you tell a mom? I mean, because obviously I think breastfeeding is a very personal choice, and it might be a choice, it might not. Like in my case, it wasn't really a choice, like that was what was handed to me.
Mhm.
What do you tell your new moms about their breastfeeding journey?
One, like you said, it's a personal choice. I always tell, our parents what we want at the end of the day is a healthy baby. So, a healthy baby, a healthy mama, that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have to either I will say that healthy baby, healthy mama, but as breastfeeding is a natural method, it does not mean it's easy. So that's kind of one of the things I want to make sure that breastfeeding is a skill, not only a skill for mom to learn, but for baby to get a hold of. So,
Mhm.
yes, they have that natural smell. They're going to know where mom is, where food is, but making that connection can take a little bit of work. So, that and I said work because it is. And so sometimes that's
Ah,
where us as postpartum doulas like, you got it, mom, you have it. We just need to get that connection again, get the timing right. It's just a little bit of tracking. And then after that, it's just going to be like, okay, I know my baby's hungry. Come on, let's go eat. And after that, and then of course, for the moments, because not only what the doctor may have told you, there are other medical concerns that does inhibit breastfeeding from being an option for some moms.
yeah.
So when it comes to that, okay, if that's the choice or the final outcome that comes, then let's figure out a different way that we can connect with baby, because
Yeah.
sometimes that's the underlying emotional current that comes with breastfeeding is that connection.
Mm, thank you for mentioning that because I think for those of us who weren't able to, for whatever reason, or made the choice not to,
Hmm.
I think we do mourn that loss of connection. I think, y'all's generation, keep aging myself, y'all's generation has done a really, great job about exploring other options like skin to skin and
Hmm.
like those weren't terminology things that we used. So what are some other ways that mom and baby can connect if it's not through that journey?
So, like you mentioned, skin to skin. So, you have your wrap carriers. And so, for that was for me, same thing. Me knowing, even with all my background, breastfeeding was not an option for me. And so, I did have to go through that emotional kind of like, okay, you know what? It's not for me. Right now, my mental load can't also handle it. So, you know
Mm.
what? We're going to find a different way. So, I did a lot of wrap carrier carrying, and every morning we were going to go on a walk. He was going to be close to me. We were going to sit on our porch. We were going to, enjoy the lovely weather that we were having. I had a fall baby, so
No, I was gonna
I lucked
say
out a little bit.
it's not a gym baby
um,
then.
and of course, as they got older, and I got a little bit more confident, I would bring him in the shower with me. And so even to this day, he's 18 months old and he knows when his own bath time is, but sometimes he'll say, "Hey, can we get in the shower?" Soon. And so I'm like, "Okay, let's get in the shower. We'll go do it together."
Ah, so it
Yeah,
sounds like a lot of postpartum doula is really instilling a sense of confidence into
it
them.
really is. Hmm.
That it just, like you can do this. Like it seems really hard, but providing that encouragement is so, so important. I feel like I could talk all day about like what I remember and what
Oh
I
yeah.
experienced, and
And
that's always the
sorry.
temptation here. Um, But we have so many more topics that we're
Oh,
going
yeah.
to cover from the Motherhood Center. You guys are the primo experts. So we will be back next week or a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and we will tape another really important episode of things that you need to know if you're thinking about having a baby or you are having a baby. Sonia, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Of course. Thank you, Megan.
All right, we will see you next time on another episode of Houston Moms in the Making. Take care.